So I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but as I do that, in case you've just joined us right now, this is Peter Ngozi-Nyirongo, and you are live on the Mentor Coffee series. So you know what it is when I'm wearing shades and I'm wearing this jumper and with my coffee mug, you know that I'm in business with my interviews. Now, it looks like the sun has sort of escaped me. If you do follow this platform, you do know that I have these interviews outside. So it may be a little dark, but the sun has sort of shifted. So tell me, so you do all of this. So what were some of the underlying motivational factors that made you say, hey, listen, I think I'm better off taking this path of running my own business? Because look, the majority of the world never does that at that age. As you know, statistics are skewed there, which is 90% of the world is lining up to get a job. So at that age of 23, you already have a foresight of saying, look, I want to do this thing on my own. What compelled you?
The most important thing for me was the ability to be master of my time. I wanted to own my time. So my perspective has shifted.
If I have to list some of the reasons why, that is really high up there. I really wanted to be the master of my time.
Yeah, and that was the primary driving focus. I was newly married. I married at one, and immediately started having kids. And for me, I found that I was naturally a family man, and I had a very strong belief that I needed to be present for my kids when they were tiny, little, as they were growing older. So I wanted to master that. I didn't enjoy the idea of being locked to a clock for 9-10 hours a day, and I think that was the very first reason why I really did it. But then beyond that, I also obviously had a sense of, what the financials would be, because I kind of calculated. I said, look, I'm collecting a paycheck of $4,000 a month. But if I did this much business, I could really triple that and still be able to run my business and cover my costs and things like that. So obviously the money was a big factor as well. And as I grew older, it became more about legacy, bigger reasons for doing the things that we do, such as showing my kids an example, kind of letting my story be something that they can refer to and learn from.
So in terms of personal growth, look, you're a family man, you're an entrepreneur. What has been your transition over the years? And now when you look at the current state of world affairs, people are losing jobs, people are wondering what just next month is going to look like. No one can predict that. It doesn't matter whether it's a Fortune 500 company, they are it's almost trying to find a needle in a haystack because things keep moving and shifting rapidly. So how do you see how the world is sort of shaped with the lessons that you've learned over the years in what you become, the leader that you are in your own right, and how you're responding to COVID-19?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, this whole period has been a time of learning. This is the greatest value I've been able to extract because from a personal standpoint, from a business standpoint, professional self-development standpoint, I've just basically decided to turn up a few notches in every area And I feel like I feel like things, well, I'm an optimist, Peter. So I always choose to focus on that silver lining. I feel like things won't be this bad forever. We're hearing right now in the news the therapeutics and development, possible vaccines going on third stage of trials and things like that, which is really good news, I think. So I'm hopeful.
Certainly encouraging.
Right. I'm hopeful that
before the end of the year, right?
Right.
There's a possibility even if
right. So even if it happened in the middle of next year, even if it takes longer than we hope and want it to, I think that this is the time to recognize that there's some really serious shifts in dynamics. The world map is shifting. The balance of power is shifting. China is taking a more prominent role in the world. Maybe this is a good time to learn some Mandarin, man. You never know.
But tell me, where do you see Africa sort of fitting in all of this?
Africa is quite a case, okay? There's so many things that I feel about
that doesn't
Africa.
Sound too kind.
Well, no, I think it's...
You are really picking the best word to use.
Well, we have issues in Africa, man. We have some success stories in Africa, but we have a lot of growing up to do as peoples, and as a collective. Being from Zambia, I'm very interested in what happens with Zambia in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And I think that we need to basically allow newer generations to step in and bring in some new ideas. And we need to learn from other stories in the world. We need to learn from what's been happening with China, how they've escalated their exodus from poverty in such a short amount of time, going from being a third world country to being the number 2 power in the world, economic power in the world, and maybe military, who knows. We need to see how bad governance can cause confidence in an entire country to be shaken, like in the case of Donald Trump in the United States. We need to see to learn how allies and connections can fall off, if you don't deliver on your promise to be a good leader, a strong leader, especially in time of crisis, that you can lose those crucial connections, or at the very least they become frayed, Again, the silver lining in this is that American democracy is pretty mature and pretty strong. So that means if Trump doesn't get booted out in November, he only has one more term.
4 years.
Just one more term until it cycles out. I wish it was that great in Africa. We're learning. We still have a ways to go. But I'm excited about Africa because like I've said about
the direction. I kind of like the direction we've taken right now in the conversation. One of the things that I wanted to ask you was, in terms of leadership, from a business and stroke investment angle as well, where would you see yourself, and where would you encourage people to say, hey, listen, the East, which includes China and Singapore, how they rose, like South Korea. I remember having a delegation from South Korea, I think in 2010, and one of the things that they said is that, and they kept on hammering on this, you could almost tell, now in looking back, you could see that, look, they were simply saying, look, there's nothing special about us. And they were saying Zambia in 1964 was at a better place than South Korea was in 1964. Zambia was actually considered a much higher income earning, and the GDP of Zambia was higher than South Korea. And fast forward, Zambia is probably in real time probably 100 to 200 years behind. So where do you see the new crop of leaders taking up center stage in terms of business. I really don't want to dwell so much on politics because I've got this that I sort of got from somebody that politics is for failed businessmen, and I don't intend and I don't intend to be one.
I hear you, man.
Yeah.
I hear you. Look,
Yeah,
we can't talk economics without gently touching on the politics of it all. You know what I mean? But in the spirit of this platform, we'll stick to the business side. I think that one of the things we need to do as young leaders, as being part of that new crop of leadership, and I'm not talking political leadership, I'm talking about leadership across the board. You know what I mean? There needs to be a mindset shift, and that mindset shift has to do with looking at leadership that is sustainable, leadership that outlasts us, that doesn't die with us. You know what I mean? And that means a commitment to investing in those who are coming up behind us, in terms of education, in terms of opportunity. You know, we need to give the young people a reason to really take ownership and understand, look, Zambia is our country, or whatever country we're talking about. Africa is our land, and it's only going to do as well as we, want it to, and as much as we choose to sacrifice for it. So we have lessons, Peter, on this continent. We have some really great stories that we can look at, like Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria. These are countries that they're making some real strides in certain areas, such as technology. And they're doing things that really more African countries that are categorized as poor need to be doing. And for me, it's about learning how to be self-sufficient as a people, as a collective. We need to see what resources we have right now available to us and how we can unlock those resources to really benefit the people, So, those are my thoughts.
Yeah. So, as we sort of start winding this up, one of the reasons why I formed an investment publication is to literally address some of the things that you are highlighting, which is to open, first and foremost, the people's eyes across the continent. So my interest is not necessarily Zambia per se, but obviously it sticks out because that's where I'm from. But my passion is to help Africa realize that, look, you almost don't need the rest of the world to help you realize that, look, you already have it. I mean, the rest of the world actually is harvesting from Africa, and China is where Africa is now, maybe 50, 60 years ago. And they made a decision, and it all started with leadership. So what would you say, in terms of just encouraging somebody out there who feels like, hey, listen, things are really hard right now. I'm just not sure. And for a long time also, I've been thinking of maybe just starting a business, and I just don't know how to go about it. What would be some of your perhaps closing remarks in that regard? Take as much time as you feel necessary.
Thanks, Peter. So for the fledgling entrepreneur, the most important nugget that I could leave here for you would be empower yourself. Knowledge is everything. Shortcuts do not get you to where you need to be necessarily. You know what I mean? So if you're getting into a business, commit to being the best in that space. Learn from those who have gone before you. Learn from their mistakes. Learn from their wins. And work ethic. Work ethic is everything. When I started out in business, I told you I wanted to own my time. One of the misconceptions that I had was that as a business person, I would work less, and have the ability. No, that's not the way it works. Especially if you're working, if you're working in the area of your passion, it actually becomes a challenge sometimes to walk away from your craft and actually make the time, even if you are master of your time. In the end, your passion tends to dominate your trajectory. Right? So that's about work-life balance. You know what I mean? Give. That's what I believe. I'm a spiritual man, so I believe that if you plant seed, at some point you're gonna harvest. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and that's with either good or bad seed. Either way, you're gonna harvest something.
You're gonna harvest it. Yeah, I mean, if we're not talking Christianity, there's the concept of karma out there in the world. I think it's kind of a spin of the same thing. What you sow is kind of what you're gonna reap. You know what I mean? But if I was gonna tell a young entrepreneur, you gotta have that gall. You know, you gotta have that grit. There's no glory without those gall and grit. You know. Boldness. You have to. If you see an opportunity and you're sure about it, you see that it's a real opportunity. You've researched it. You understand the space. Take the plunge. Take the plunge. There's going to be people who are going to try to talk you out of it. You know, especially in those moments when you're struggling. People are going to step up and say, "Hey, just get a job, man."
That's
you know. Look, if you got to get a job to eat, don't let that job kill your vision.
That's
Do your 9 to 5, and when you get home, like Gary Vaynerchuk likes to say, kiss the dog and get to work. You know, he actually says, go to town. You know what I mean? And I believe that. I believe that grit is gonna set those people who have longevity in business apart from those who falter at the beginning. You know.
Thank you. TK, this has been really illustrious and it's been impactful to me. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You know, your commitment to your dream and purpose is always encouraging. And sometimes in the path and journey of an entrepreneur, you feel like, oh man, this is a little too much. And then when you look at others, and this is what I on across the platforms, I always say, make sure that you have the right people around you. For moments like that, I look up to friends like you. I'm like, okay, look, I have a call with you, and then as soon as the call is done, I'm like, you know what? If he's doing it, I've got no reason why not. Why I shouldn't pursue what I'm doing even harder.
Inspiration. Look, man, we met up the other day to do the video thing. I told you I'm really proud to see what steps you're taking in your personal journey. Congratulations on your first book. I know it's going to be the first of many, many important publications that are going to serve the spaces that you serve in very well. So well done, man, and just keep the fire burning.
Thank you. TK, it's been absolutely wonderful. I'm already working on the second book, by the way. And
look forward to it.
And the video that he's talking about, so they're working on my autobiography. There's a studio that's working on my autobiography. I have no idea what they want to document about my short life.
It's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
I'm looking forward to the final product myself. So viewers, thank you so much for tuning in and for joining us live. This has been Peter Ngozi-Nyirongo, and this has been the Mentored Coffee series where we brew new leaders. And I have something exciting for you guys before I just log off, which is we are working on our website. It's still not completely done, but there's already some resource material. We're revamping the website. So there'll be a blog where you can get new articles, and we've partnered with various leadership programs. The first one is Career Marais Leadership Development Academy, and we should have some blogs, I think, in a day or two. But what would be nice also is that if you can just follow up by putting in your email address, and you'll be in tune with bi-weekly. There'll be bi-weekly resource materials such as a newsletter, and thereafter it will increase to weekly. I know, TK, this is some in-house stuff that I'm sharing, and you have to bear.
Hey, plug away, my friend. Plug away.
So, man, TK, it's been great to have you as we.
Likewise. Thanks, man. Ciao.
Okay. Bye-bye.